Hello there, my name is RagingRaptor and welcome to a new World of Tanks preview video. Today we have a look at the other second iteration medium tank rebalances, because as you might know and maybe watch that video all over up there, maybe in the iCard, we had a look already at the tier 10 rebalancing changes with the Leopard 1, with the, well, presumably Object 430U, which got cancelled, the STB1 and the AMX 30B. But to be more precise, the Leopard 1 and STB1 got even more changes. But it doesn't stop there, to be honest. And about this tank, I'll get to talk about in a few days. I just did the pen guide to the youuuu 16, so in German and English should maybe come tomorrow. But back on the topic, it was not finished. Apparently there was more, and to be more precise, it involves this tank, and the tier 8 one, as well as the tier 9 and the tier 8 one of the Japanese tree. Yes, the Leopard PTA. This formidable enemy, and still probably one of the highly skilled based tanks, yet very rewarding tanks, also got his fair game. He also got the changes which were promised to the Leopard 1 and even some for himself. I shot it all down over here in a note, or wrote it down all here on this note, and they are incredible promising in my personal opinion and for my personal taste. I might even consider getting the Leopard PTA again, because tier for tier I definitely think it will be better than the Leopard 1 by miles, to be honest. First things first, obviously the gold ammunition will be changed from heat to APCRs, which they already did with the Leopard 1. You get 420 alpha instead of 390, you get 315 millimeters of penetration with gold instead of 330, you get HE having 480 to 510 HE damage, so we get new 510, which is a pretty hefty bump in damage. But now comes the biggest achievement of this patch, in my personal opinion. The HE gets buffed from 53 millimeters of penetration up to 105 millimeters of penetration. Phew, that is a lot of damage, if I do say so myself. It's basically the same penetration rate the tier 10 EBR 105 has, and it is an incredible potent HE, especially if you think about it. It has even 10 damage more than the EBR and a way better reload time and DPM than the tier 10 tank will have. The tier 10 EBR has, excuse me, skip my mind there a little bit. The interesting feature also is that we get almost 200 damage per minute more, because they are not nerving the Leopard PTA's reload time. It stays where it is, which is incredible if you think about it. Just a 200 plain DPM buff. Sure, AP shell velocity goes down, or standard rounds goes down slightly around 100 meters per second. The gold shell velocity goes up from 1100 to 1600 meters per second. The dispersion goes down by roughly 0.01 from 0.31 when we round this up here to 0.297, which is rounded up 0.3. The aim time is also going down by 0.2 seconds, which is very neat. Sadly, we lose reverse speed. We go down from 23 to 20 kilometers per hour, and the turning speed also goes down from 42 to 40 kilometers per hour. But now we get something which a lot of German players wanted to have, because the Leopard 1 or the Leopard series of tank was known for being the first of having a gyroscope, or against a gyroscope which stabilized the gun, which again is absolutely incredible for back in the days. Hence why the Leopard 1, which was told to me, had made so many shooting competitions and win them. And this is where we are getting now. They're going to buff the dispersion values during turret rotation with from 0.313 to 0.1. And if I am not mistaken, this is really as the same value what the Object 140 has during turret traverse. The turret is the same with 0.1 if we round those values up, which is actually incredible if you do think so about this. The whole, well, and the whole traverse and whole speed well, it stays the same. Well, it gets better. It goes down to 0.515 from 0.17, which is a good chunk of more. If you think about it, the Leopard 1 has, I think, 0.16 base. I think they even buffed it down from 0.17. So yeah, now it's 0.13 if I am not mistaken. But yeah, we get a huge chunk of dispersion or accuracy buff on the move, and this will make this tank a very deadly sniper in my personal view. But again, it's not the only tank which got looked at. It also, well, also meant that the Indien-Pz got his fair share of buffs. Yes, actually, full-on buffs. I can't remember if there were any nerfs to compensate for that. So we just build it up again, once again, give it all what she can have. Pull this over here and this one away. And the first buff it gets is a change description. Bam, guys! This will make this tank overpowered. Bye, guys. Obviously, jokes aside. The AP damage gets also buffed from 240 to 250, making it the same as what we have on the Russian T-44 and T-44 100s. The penetration gets also buffed from 212 to 218, which is not that much, but it's obviously something you like to take. The gold damage also goes up, while the gold penetration stays the same. However, the HE goes up all the way 40 millimeters better, which is pretty 40 millimeters, 30 damage more. Excuse me, my brain farted there a little bit. And the HE penetration once again gets doubled from 45 to 90, meaning the HE will be quite the potent ammunition type to use. Once again, the DPM also gets a slight buff, but there is no reload buff in it, so it's just the pure more damage. You get the pure 10 more damage per shot. Good thing is, it also gets a little bit more accurate from 0.33 to 0.31, which is what the Leopard PTA at the moment has. The aim time goes also down from 2.21 seconds to 1.82 seconds, so it's a buff of basically 0.3 seconds, which is a lot in my personal opinion. And they also buff the accuracy during vehicle movement and vehicle hold turn. It's not a lot, but it's still something and makes this tank, I think, a lot more convenient to play. But it's not like a huge amount like the Leopard PTA got. But it's totally okay, and I love to have that. So, the other German tank which got a buff is the Panzer 58 Mutz. Or in, well, German, the Panzer 58 Mutz. And for the people which don't know, Mutz apparently is Swiss German, or rather Bernese or Bern accent for bear, yeah. Hence why this tank has this huge bear on its side. I find it a little bit of funny because you don't call this well-known monument Mutzgraben, you call it Bärengraben, which is, well, just bear, I don't know what's graben in English, I actually don't know. Pit, I guess. But yeah, they are also giving it some buffs, and also this is also taking into account the Schwarzpanzer 58 and the frontline versions. They too get those buffs. Once again, we get more damage from 240 to 250. The HE gets only a buff from 320 to 330, which might be a mistake, but it might also be just because they wanted it to make those tanks a little bit less equal or something, I don't know. The DPM also goes up a little bit, but there is no reload buff added to that. The cool thing, however, though, is we get faster AP and faster gold ammunition. And that's pretty neat. And they buffed the fuel range from 380 to 390, which I totally take. That's awesome. They also buffed the accuracy from 0.35 to 0.33, which is also decent, and we get 50 more HP. Well, the sad part is the Mutz is not really the best tank. Yes, it's Swiss. I don't even have a gun mark on it. Yes, I am trash. Yes, I should play it more. But at least those buffs give it a pretty decent thing, I would say. It looks good. I like the buffs. They look... I can work with that. I'm happy to work with that. The next tank is the Type-61, which I already spoiler before. So we have once again to get in all the modules to make it a fair comparison. So let's pull out the gun stats, because most things changed on the gun stats once again, because obviously there are the biggest changes applied. Because yes, it will get AP as standard ammunition. Yes, the APCR or AP damage, standard damage, gets nerfed from 390 to 360 to be in line with the STB1. And I know that a lot of you guys don't really like those changes, yet I do think with the announced better turret of the STB1 and maybe the hydropneumatic suspensions, it will be pretty interesting to have such a great DPM and a very sturdy turret. But the cool thing about the Type-61 is, however, you get a straight up 300 DPM buff, which is bonkers if you ask me. The reload time goes all the way down from 9.58 seconds to 7.86 seconds, which is murderous. If you have a good crew, you can push it down below 7 seconds, and if somebody has not a good repair crew, they are screwed because you can permatrack them. The shell velocity obviously goes down with the new AP as standard ammunition. The gold ammunition also has worse penetration rate and worse speed at longer distances. Or in general, excuse me, I brain farted there once again. The dispersion goes up from 0.35 to 0.36 or 0.37, not entirely sure how they're going to round this number. My guess would be 0.36, but we don't know wargaming to be precise. But it's an okay trade to take for what you get. You also get an aim time buff from 2.21 seconds to 2.01 seconds, which is great. 0.2 seconds fast reload is awesome. And you get a better top engine, 604 to 750, bumping its power to weight ratio all the way up to 21 from 17, and that is pretty darn significant. So you also get a little bit of better turn rate from 48 to 50 degrees, but, and here's the big but, you lose top speed. 47.6 goes down to 45. 2.5 kilometers gone. It's not a big deal. I think it is, yes, it's not such a big deal like with the STB1 in my personal opinion. You get a better reverse speed, 23 kilometers per hour backwards instead of 20. 23 is a lot better, and I can see it at the moment with the new UDAS tank on the tier 10. It is very formidable to have great backward speed. You also get a little bit more hard hit points, and you get more side armor. From 35 to 45 millimeters. You might ask yourself, wow, what a buff. I am ecstatic. Why is this happening? Why is it so good? And I want to argue it's actually pretty decent. Because with 35 millimeters of armor, when we do this right here, 35 times 3, we're going to check how is the overmatch going to be. And every single gun with and below 105 millimeters, which are shooting AP or APCR, will auto bounce at a steep angle against those 35 millimeter plates. But this means, sadly, some things like E5, which has a 120 millimeter gun, IS, which has a 122 millimeter gun, T277, Object 277 has 130 millimeter gun. They all penetrate without most likely bouncing because they have enough penetration, because they all get the benefit of overmatching. If we now bump this up to 45 times 3, we get an armor value which needs, or a diameter value which needs to be over 135 millimeters, meaning only the guns which are from the Japanese and above can auto or overmatch your sides. It's a small thing, but I like it because it allows you to somewhat maybe even get here and there some lucky ricochets, or maybe even can be able to side scrape, because again, IS nor E5 nor 277 will auto-pen your side anymore, or overmatch your side, not auto-pen. It's not auto-penning because in lower tiers there actually are cases where you can still bounce with overmatch. Thank you, Phil. But yeah, this armor buff is, I think, pretty decent and should not be overlooked. Other than that, your turret front gets from 70 to 85 and your turret side from 60 to 80. Those buffs basically are just there to help you against some HE spamming wheelie boys. One thing though, which is also accurate and really cool, they are buffing the gun handling. It goes all the way down from 0.13 to 0.11 for turret rotation, and for moving and turning your hull, it goes down to 0.1, which is a pretty darn good value. And honestly, I think this tank will still be a glass cannon, how it's written in the books, but DPM and accuracy on the move makes this tank a pretty strong tank, I even think. It might be a pretty good buff in my personal view right here. And one thing for the people which are playing this game a little bit longer than others, well, you might remember the old Centurion 7-1 or Mark 7-1 or the old F34-202. They had amazing HP to tone ratios, but bad top speed. And I think this is at the moment what is going to happen to the Japanese medium tank line. Do I dislike it? Not really. It will be interesting to see nevertheless. I actually think I have to rebuy this tank to have a look at it, to be precise what is going on with them. So, 2 more tanks to have a look at, and well, you might have guessed it by now, it's the STA-1 and the STA-2. So once again, for fairness sakes, we are going to give it a top turret, the top gun, the top engine, this one because it might be a little bit lighter. So this is the STA-1, not the STA-2, which I did in the German video because I'm stupid. But yeah, here we go. They're going to buff the penetration from 218.7 to 219. Bam, guys! Woo, baby! What an amazing buff. Jokes aside, yeah. But you will get a better DPM from 2000 to 2300, pumping this bad boy up to one of the best tier 8 medium DPMs if I am not mistaken. 7.1 to 6.2 seconds. That's a pretty hefty buff from 0.9 seconds, almost 1 second faster. Once again, if you have a good crew and have good aiming skills, this tank, you will be able to perma-track your enemies and foes if you know what you are doing. Also, it gets a slight buff in speed of your standard AP shells. It gets more inaccurate though, so that's the trade-off. You get a little bit more easier or better aim time by 0.1 seconds, and you get a much better engine. You can see the power to weight ratio goes all the way up to 19 from 16.73, which once again is pretty decent, and I totally take that. That's cool. I like that. But then again, I also want to point out that accuracy is not really the best stat to look at. The 0.02 versus accuracy is not that bad as it might seem. Anyway, the tank also gets more accurate during movement, or rather hull traverse and hull moving, which is great. No deal with the turret. So the turret still stays at the accuracy or inaccuracy level of when you just turn it and don't move. So a pretty decent buff for the STA-1 too. I might like to see a little bit better armor, maybe a little bit better side arm, maybe 40 instead of 35 millimeters. Yeah, but again, it's a tier 8 tank. You can't make it as strong as a tier 9 tank, obviously, because what would it be then to just like, yeah, there wouldn't be any pros to playing it, basically what I want to say. And the last tank in our list is the STA-2, or rather a Type-61 with stock equipment. And I really dislike this tank. I hardly play it at all. I don't see why I should play it, to be honest. But anyway, they gave it some buffs. I don't think they will make this tank good or anything, because you get worse DPM than the STA-1. You get like half of the reload time. He got reload time buff. You get slightly better AP and heat shells, and please don't forget the heat shells are pretty strong on this tank. 275 millimeters of penetration is pretty strong. 570 to 700 horsepower, however, gives it a good chunk of better horsepower ratio. It goes up 4 horsepower per ton, which is pretty neat, and it also gets the 23 kilometers per hour backward speed. So overall, that's a pretty decent buff, but then again, I most likely won't play this tank, which I just did because I am stupid and I don't know how to do an outro. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to play this tank more often than I am doing right now. But I'm pretty sure for the people which like this tank, it's a nice feature. It's a nice little buff. Anyway, this is RagingRaptor. I gotta now concentrate on this game, and I don't want to keep you in here for too long because the video is already 20 minutes long. Thank you so much for your attention. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you all later in another video. Most likely the youuuu 16 tier 9 Swedish medium tank penetration guide. Bye bye!